Welcome to Monroe MustHangs. I'm your host, David Spiegel. Here with me today is fourth-year Monroe College Marching Band Director, Gary Hollander.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want to talk about, of course, the marching band today, because I think it's just one of the greatest things we do at Monroe. It's a big part of our athletics department, and it's something that's unique in the way that we kind of handle it versus what you see around the area, around schools at this level. And I want to definitely talk in depth about that. But first, I want to start with you and how you first got to Monroe and became the marching band director here.
It's actually a unique story. There was actually a student worker in the athletic department saying that they were trying to start a marching band and they had a position open and that I should actually contact Lou Melendez, the athletic director, and I should send my stuff in, and I was slow, and the student worker actually kept pushing me like, send your stuff. So I did, and I got a call from Lou not too much long after that, and he said, okay, so tell me your plan. He told me the background, that it's pretty much starting from scratch, and what my plan was, and if I was on board, I should come talk to him in person. So, and that's how it went down. And I came in and we had an hour meeting and laid out the plan, how we're going to do it. And we discussed how things are, going to be run just a little differently than, some of the larger band programs. And we all got on board and agreed that it was going to be a building process of several years. And we hit the ground running in approximately 2016. December 2016.
Yeah, you got here December 2016. I've been on board since July of 2017. So you kind of established your program to what it is, basically what it is now, by the time I arrived on campus. So, I got to see it as a big thing. I would have been convinced that you'd been doing this for years. And then I found out you'd only really been there for a little more than a year. So it was very impressive at the start, and of course it's just continued growing today. But like I said, it's a little bit more unique here, and I think for the better with the way we've handled it at Monroe. So can you kind of tell us the specifics of what does make this marching band different, and in terms of how we think it actually makes it better?
What makes us unique is that we're not embraced to have a certain style. We can create our own. We're not limited to, when I started, there was no school song, there were no drum beats, there's no history of literature of music. So I was able to, first thing we walked in, I hired a percussion instructor, and the first thing I said to him was, we need a school drum beat. And I said, I need it fast. And so he had something that he'd been working on, and we implemented that right away to get that going. And then I started just doing some R&B and hip hop music with the few students I had at the time, just to give them an introduction of what we were going to do and what I had planned. Within that first year, they said, hey, we're going to the Virgin Islands. Do you want to come recruit with us? And I said, yeah, I'm coming. Let's go. And so I went down there, and we were able to bring and authorize 8 students almost immediately to the band. And so from that, so starting in September or August of 2017, we did have a band of about 30 to 35 students that first year. And we were able, because of the large percentage, relatively a large percentage of the band was from the Virgin Islands, we also implemented some soca stuff. Which you're not going to hear many marching bands do. So we were able to do some of the show style stuff. We added some soca stuff, and we, we just have no limits and boundaries. So it's oh, do we feel like doing this? Let's do this. Let's do that. And we are able to experiment. And also, students come to Monroe for academics. There's no music major, so students are able to come and continue to play their instrument and have fun and get a marching band scholarship and not be obligated to a music major. So, we're not hard pressed on practicing 5 to 7 days a week where, I understand with, students and what their needs are. And so we keep things very regimented, where we only practice about 2 times a week once the school year starts. Most of our stuff's done in our preseason with the athletic department, so we do practice twice a week, and so students can focus on their academics during the rest of the week.
I think what really gives us a big opportunity here with the marching band and the dance team that goes along with it is that, like you mentioned, there are scholarships available at Monroe for the marching band without having a music major or anything like it. And we really treat it like it's a big part of the athletic department. It's not just a club. It's not just the marching band on the side. Like, it really is another program that's within the athletic department. It's just like just like rugby and different programs like that. So, I think it's just a great opportunity. You bring in a lot of talented performers, of course. And one thing that's also something that is just very consistent throughout the department for us, the Monroe Mustangs specifically, is that you don't just get students from New York, you don't just get students from the United States, but you get students from all over the place. So what's it like recruiting for a marching band outside of, just the specific region, really just broadening your horizons with that?
One unique thing is, be part of athletics. I can join with the athletic admission department and general admissions department, and we do have those connections to schools not only within the U.S. but internationally. So it gives us that chance to be a very cultural band and bring in all into our group. So it's been quite the experience how bands are run, not only just outside New York, because it's different in different regions of the country, but also when you go international, the ideas of marching band in the Caribbean are much different than what they are up here. That's been the most exciting part, and also a learning curve on my end, because I'm as an educator, I'm never done learning, and that was one thing that caught me was it is different, and I had to learn with them how to that it is different in other areas.
And you mentioned that you are an educator, and of course that is true. You are a teacher as well, and you also, this is not all the only band that you are directing. So, what's it like balancing, trying to build this program as you do, while also working with other bands at different levels and teaching as well?
Yeah, it can get tricky because especially during most marching bands, the fall season is like the highlight of their season, and so. From September to November, it's complete, craziness, doing the balancing act and just saying, okay, and scheduling all these events, because both bands have become quite popular to perform outside the school events. Monroe's been very fortunate in such an early stage. We have been able to perform at the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, and we have been able to perform the Thanksgiving Day Parade in New Rochelle and other things that have, it was a nice thing that now led up to, we run a new event we started last year called the Monroe Classic, where we bring in bands from the tri-state area, and we bring them in, and we just, it's a showcase of all these high school bands that end with an exhibition of our band, and it exposes our new product of the band to all these high schools. So, and then on the flip end, trying to balance it with my high school group, which is also, quite active. It's a good challenge. I'll give you that. It's a very good challenge, but, I don't play favorites. It's, I can't do this because of that group. It's, it's very well structured, and I do have, sometimes there is a conflict, it happens about once a year. But I'm fortunate that we have, a great staff at Monroe that, pick up when I can't be there or I have to show up late, which is rare. But so that, again, I'm very fortunate to have 2 successful programs so far.
Of course, you are a very busy man, and that seems to be the way you like it. If I just look at your resume right here, you also have a number of different degrees, and that brings up a story that, when I was first introduced to you, nobody actually told me your real name. They just kept introducing you as Doc, and I had to kind of figure it out on my own. Maybe it was you that actually told me your real name. I think I had to specifically ask because I don't even think you were on the website for some reason. So we got that all straightened out. But it seems you're obviously very well educated in terms of music and directing, and you even have a doctorate in musical arts. So you tell me, what kind of inspired you to go into music and then pursue a doctorate and a master's and all this education in music to make you basically an expert in it?
Um, so my whole family is in the music field. So growing up around it, I was able, it just kind of, it's like a sponge, absorbing it. My mom and dad are musicians, and then I'm the oldest of three siblings. So, and we all play instruments and within the music field. So from there, it just organically just grew on me. And my senior year in high school, the aha moment for me, I was like, wow, this is exciting, was I got selected to perform in a Coca-Cola commercial that was set to be aired for a Super Bowl. So, and we did that that was 2 days of filming, and I got to meet the renowned director, John Singleton. And that was just an experience that I've never forgotten. And I still remember to this day. And I said, wow, this was the best. And so that made me go into, that slingshot me straight into a music career. Like, I want to go major in music for my undergrad. So I did. And then I just wanted to keep going. And I had an opportunity to do my master's degree, basically, with an assistantship out in Illinois, at Illinois State University. And so I dropped basically everything I was doing when I was in Baltimore for my undergrad. And I went out to the Midwest, and I pursued my master's degree there, where I started performing with regional orchestras while doing that. And my teacher said, well, are you going to do the orchestral circuit, and are you going to take all these auditions, or are you going to go for your doctorate? And I said, go for my what? And he says, well, your doctorate. He says, because either you have two options at this point. You can go and do the performance and go audition around the country and hope you land a job, or you can do your doctorate, and then that would open the door for teaching at a college. And I didn't even, he caught me by surprise, because I wasn't expecting it, let alone thinking about a doctorate program at the time. And so I did a couple auditions, and he knew me better than I knew me in terms of my attention span. I just did not have this practice the same things for these auditions. So I went for my doctorate. I got lucky again. I got an assistantship at University of Illinois. And so it was 45 minutes, east of where I was at Illinois State. So I spent 4 years there, did my doctorate. And then I was able to, from there, teach at Illinois State University when my teacher took a leave. And I said, what is exactly what I wanted. It was like my dream job. And I was like hoping, like, well, maybe this will turn into a full-time thing. And after one semester, I was like, I need more than this. I just can't. It was, I was teaching applied trombone. I said, I need more than this. And my mentor at the time was the head director of bands at University of Illinois, James Keene. He said, go get a public school job. I said, what? He goes, go. He goes, you'll enjoy it much more. He says, you'll be able to do whatever you want. And he goes, and find a program that you can build. And so I said, oh. So I listened to him, and I ended up back in New Jersey. And I did that. And I built, again, it's very similar to Monroe. I was given almost nothing, and I had to build everything from scratch. And it just led to that. And then I said, wow, I could actually see myself being like a supervisor or a principal. So you see there, I did my second master's, and so I got my principal certificate. So that's for later in life. Right now, I'm not done. My work is not done with the high school, and and with Monroe. Again, my work is not done there either. It's far from over. So I'm in an exciting time right now for me. So, but that's how the whole genesis of where I am now, where I came from.
Well, I guess I could say we're lucky to have you here, because it's not every day you're going to find somebody with all this level of education and experience, and obviously the passion that you have for it, which is probably the most important thing about this and about you. When we were talking before we started recording, I did note how the resume you sent me is one of the longest I've ever seen in my life, but that I can't really pinpoint anything that doesn't belong here. So obviously you've experienced a lot. You've taught, and you've directed, and you've performed. So what would you say are, let's say before Monroe, some of the more significant things you've done in your musical career?
Performance-wise, you know, everything leads to another. It's you know, just all the experiences I get are, they culminate to, you know, it's one thing leads to the next. So it's you know, do things stick out? I mean, that Coca-Cola commercial that I did when I was in high school, believe it or not, was like by far the coolest thing. You know, it's I'm usually a pretty humble person. I don't brag. I don't talk about it. Like sometimes people have to remind me of stuff I've done. You know, it's because I don't like talking about myself. It's one thing. You know, I can sit here and one-on-one, and you know, if we're, you know, and I can talk your ear off. But when it comes to talk about me, you know, it's you know, I get a little, it's a different side of me. So it's, but in terms of things that have been, you know, in the performance side or education side, I've always been liking to share experiences. So, you know, with my high school group, you know, to give them the experiences, we've done stuff on ESPN for the NCAA tournaments, and we've done the Thanksgiving Day Parade in Philadelphia on ABC, and we've done different tours of St. Louis and Atlanta and Virginia. So, you know, that stuff, to share those experiences that students will have are more gratifying to me than anything I've done myself. You know, the fact that, you know, people can tell me 5 years later that that moment changed their life, or this is why I picked this, you know, career is, you know, stuff like that. Right now, actually, one of the most memorable things have been this pandemic. It's forced me to think outside the box. And so in both realms, so we got, we got at the high school, we've been bringing in these professionals on doing master classes for the students, and I've been bringing in different fields, and we've gotten really lucky. We've had some legends come in and talk to the students about their field, such as the head of soundtracks for Disney, and, you know, guys who wrote musicals on Broadway. And so that stuff's been fantastic. And with Monroe, it's kind of forced me to recruit differently, because normally you walk into a school and you talk to the students one-on-one as a group, or you bring your band to the school and perform for them, or you bring them to the college and you perform for the whole band. None of that's existing right now. And I think, you know, so it's forced me to, you know, do things differently to connect with students. And, you know, a large thing has been social media. Another thing has been just like, you know, calling, you know, seeing people who have an interest in Monroe and just calling everyone and saying hello. And so, you know, that stuff has been interesting and challenging and fascinating of how to go about it, because we don't have a 25-year program to rely on our legacy. Our program is brand new still, you know. So it's again, it's forcing boundaries, and I've had all the support from the athletic department to go ahead and do what I need to do to, you know, to go get the students. So you know, we had 21 incoming freshmen this year, you know, and which is exciting, because that almost, you know, that was a third of the band. You know, we went from 40 to 65. So, you know, so it's exciting. It's just now, you know, it's a new time to figure things out. And I like the challenge. I love it.
Of course. And you know, it's amazing to hear the numbers that you have this year too, because I know one notable thing about our basketball games most of the time when the marching band is there and in full force is that it gets so loud during some of our timeouts. And it's just, you know, it's like just a unique experience too. You know, I feel like I'm looking at the other team and they're just kind of getting frustrated with how little they can hear of each other. And then you look at our team and they're just used to it already. So, you know, it's one of the things you look forward to when things get back together, is that, you know, hopefully the marching band is a big part of our upcoming seasons, especially, you know, now that football and basketball and everything else are going to be going on at pretty much the exact same time if things go as planned. And I know it's something I'm looking forward to. But, you know, a few other things I do want to talk about is, like, you know, you said that it's tougher recruiting right now, and you know, you just don't get to walk into schools and talk to kids and see them perform. So when you do get to recruit normally, what are the kind of things you're looking for in someone that fits for your marching band, you know, so in terms of personality and talent, and something that, you know, someone like me who's not very musically inclined wouldn't understand even?
So generally, are you willing to, you know, are you still willing to learn? you're never done learning. Sometimes students who think that, they were a section leader or, or the equivalent of captain of their line, they think they're the end all be all, and it's not true, because then you walk into college and then you're dealing with someone who's 4 years older than you playing circles around you. And that could be a tough, call. So are you willing to learn? Are you flexible? Just like in anything, things change, schedules change. And, so you have to be flexible. And then also, personality. Are you going to fit into a group? It's not, we're not a team of 20 people. It's going to be, you're with 65, and hopefully soon 80 to 85 people. Are you a team player? Are you going to fit in? And it's very easy to, just create unnecessary disturbance in something that we've created here. So, that's something that we've worked very hard for, was a very easygoing environment where we're learning and not just at each other's, just having a temper towards one another. So, we're in a good place. And so those are some of the key things I'm looking for. You don't have to be the best player, to be here, because we're going to teach you, we're going to help you. But we do want you to learn and be flexible and have great personality. I'm a very, I always know, for listening to this, I'm sarcastic, I'm funny, and it's just, and so you have to be able to take it, and I'll take it too. I'll dish it, but I'll take it, and so we have a very good relationship, rapport with the students. So, and that's one of the main things that they say when they hear about the band, like, oh, you gotta come because, our band director, he's funny, he's great, blah, blah, blah. So, and then I say the further my thing about flexible is because we're still new, we haven't had a real home. So sometimes our location of rehearsal spaces change year to year, sometimes semester to semester, and that's okay. I mean, we're new. And so it's just being adapting to new settings and just understanding that, we've always gotten an upgrade. So we regress, but it's always been an upgrade. And so they see the growth, and, they understand that they're part of the process. So.
Hey Mustangs, I just wanted to tell you about the brand new Monroe Mustang Sideline store, powered by our apparel partner BSN Sports. Create your own unique piece of Mustang gear by choosing from hundreds of apparel options, colors, graphics, and your choice of the new Monroe Mustangs logo collection.
Through the month of December, you can use the code DEC20, that's DEC20, to take 20% off your order of $85 or more.
Visit the Monroe Mustang Sideline store at monroecollegemustangs.com/shop and gear up for the new school year.
And as part of that as well, I think you guys have been getting some of the best apparel in the last couple of years too, with some of those hoodies that I've seen and everything. Just you're doing a good job picking that out. So as someone who, is coaching up students that are learning, whether they're learning to get better at instruments or learning new ones, I have to ask, how many different instruments do you know how to play?
Well,
and feel free to list them all too.
Yeah, well, I'm a trombone player, so that's my primary. My secondary is more goes towards, it's similar to trombone, but has vowels. It's called a baritone or euphonium in the concert band world. So, I'm pretty fluent at that. And if I had to pick another one I'm decent at, would be trumpet. So the brass instruments I'm pretty strong at. The woodwinds, I can tell you how to play it. Don't ask me to play it. So I'll tell you how to, but don't, as I said, I'll be the worst one to demonstrate. The cats will run. So.
Well, what's it like to be able to then, not necessarily, teach by doing, but, being able to teach different instruments, different musical groups without actually necessarily being an expert on it yourself?
Yeah, a lot. Well, concepts go across the board, so you can teach concepts. I do model. I don't conduct much with the band. I play. So I have always on my trombone with me at practices, and I'm playing the parts with them. When it comes for basketball season, I'm playing with them in the stands. It's twofold. One, it's a good thing with the relationship with the students, and two, I enjoy playing, and it's fun to do. So it's in terms of teaching, though, it's concepts go across the board. So I may not know how to play that saxophone as well as the student may, but I know what I should be hearing and how I can help you perform better.
It's always been interesting to me, just again, as someone who is not musically inclined, but my father actually is, and I've seen him play a million different instruments. And since my brother and I moved out of his house, like he's turned a whole downstairs area into a music room. Basically, there's a drum set. He's playing guitars and he plays the keyboard, and he picked up a ukulele recently. So it's just really interesting to me that like it's kind of, you know, even if you're not an expert on one of these things, you could dabble in all these different things and kind of just pick it up. And I've had friends too that have been music majors, and it just, that doesn't seem like they necessarily don't, you know, they're not perfect at everything, but like can just kind of pick something up and learn it pretty quickly. So, you know, I've always found that to be fascinating with musicians. What is, when it comes to, you know, like I said, you know, you told me what your favorites to play and what the ones you're best at are, but what do you find like as the most entertaining instruments to teach somebody else?
To teach someone else, I love teaching like the instrument and also the parts that go with it, especially in marching band, the tuba parts, the bass line. I just love that. I mean, I'll go into that, and sometimes I can't wait for the band to, you know, when they play and they know their parts, I'll play the tuba part. I just love it. And then so like to teach the tuba parts that, and then when they start feeling that groove and watching the student like just totally get into it because now they feel it and they understand it, that is the best, you know. So I think in terms of, you know, in terms of particular instrument to teach, that, you know, that one in particular. The next one would be like, you know, and then you get into the sections when you get into the harmonies of that. But in terms of individual, definitely tuba.
Yeah, I've definitely seen you up there getting really into it with the band. So it's always fun to just see you being a part of it rather than just standing in front of them and telling them what to do. What's it like also integrating a dance line into the marching band?
So we evolved, and over the past 4 years, there's been a lot of changes, and, you know, and change does not always mean bad. It's, you know, change is good sometimes. And what we've done is we've integrated a dance and flag line into the same thing, whereas most bands they have two groups. There's a flag line and a dance line. We've decided that we were going to combine it, and that has worked because the two skills go to, from my perspective and my philosophy on things. And when I talk to my color guard instructors, because we have a dance instructor and a flag instructor, when I tell them my vision and my philosophies, they understand and they get it, which is important, and that the skill sets do correlate. And so therefore, that was one aspect. You know, they have to do dance, they got to do flag as well. You know, it's two different disciplines that they got to figure out how to blend together, and that's what we do. To incorporate with the actual instrumental ensemble, it's you know, sometimes it can be tricky. You know, it's not just we play and they dance. It's you can't expect that. There's just certain things that go with it, and so, you know, again, that takes practice. But the group, you know, they adapt very well, and so it's been nice. It's been a nice blend so far. Like this year, up until practices stopped, I think was like the best integration we've had of the group with the band. It was by far the most together we've been. And so, and things have been continuing. You know, now that we are virtual, what we're doing is, not the sidetrack, but we're talking about, as we're now virtual, what we do is the band is now online, and we play our music online, and anyone who knows in the music field, you can't do it all together at once. So what we do is everyone's on mute, and I'm playing with them, and we have practice tracks they play along with, and we're going from there. And then what we do is we'll record our parts individually. We're going to eventually have a virtual performance, and then we send it to the color guard instructors and say, here, you know, stop practicing with a click track, and now you can actually play with the real group. So these are things that we're working towards and we're working on now. So, you know, and we'll see where we end up. So that's how they've been integrated. We don't consider them not part of the band. They're not an extension. They're part of us. You know, I work just as close with the color guard instructors as if I would my own percussion instructor. So as long as we're all on the same page and because they are, people watch them. They bring in the pizzazz to what we're doing. So I can't just let them say, okay, you're a sideshow. You're part of us. So yeah, that's how we integrate them.
Yeah, they've definitely been a big part, especially when it comes to halftime at our football games. They come down there, and I think a lot of people do stay in the stands to watch it. I know for our video recordings, I make sure that the live streams for our games, I make sure that we're still rolling to make sure we get that for the people at home, because it's still a big part of the entertainment of the game. So I know I've enjoyed it, especially watching it grow over the last couple of years. It's been definitely a big growth. Now, obviously, the marching band isn't always a part of sports. You have your own events, and everything else. But what would you say are the more fun sporting events that you've been able to direct for or perform as part of, or and then also, like, what are your favorite sports in general, I guess, too?
Me personally, I'm a baseball guy. So that's in terms of sports, that's my first love. I can't wait for the spring. I'm a Mets fan, so I'm part of Seven-Line Army, so I go to my 10 games a year, and that's my thing. So I love baseball, and then I guess, believe it or not, college sports are my next favorite. I kind of, if you skip the NFL and NBA, I love college football and I love college basketball. So that's just how I am. It's just the pace of the games for me. I like the spirit that the student athletes have. But that's, again, me. So in terms of sporting events to play, I mean, we have, we play football games. We got those are fun. Basketball games, I think, are just equally as fun. They're different. There's a little more, basketball games tend more coordination because it's different types of timeouts and all that. So, but I don't know. I'm hoping maybe we can just the experience and try it once to see if we can coordinate maybe playing a volleyball game, because it's not unheard of. So, Neftali and company, listen, I'm going to be asking, how can we coordinate to do it at least once? So, because I know, some schools do have pep bands for volleyball games. So, and that would be unique because I've never done that. So, again, pushing the limits, stretching boundaries, trying new things, so. But yeah, no, baseball is my first love.
I've always wondered why we can't have a marching band at a baseball game. You have so many breaks too. You get between innings and visits to the mound. Obviously, these are important times for coaches to be talking to players. But you're outdoors. You could be out in the outfield. I've never understood why the marching band isn't necessarily a part of baseball. Volleyball, I could see it too, because you do have plenty of breaks, and even if it's 10 seconds in between plays, you could do something there, of course. And then, I mean, it's such a big part of college athletics in general. I remember even my college experience, just going to any sort of sporting events. I feel like I always wanted to stay close to the marching band because there was always so much energy involved, and a lot of them too just actually do get involved, like when it comes to like during free throws in a basketball game and things like that. So it's always just been such a fun experience. So but I definitely agree that basketball and football, it seems to be where the energy is the most. So it makes sense to have the marching band there. So backtracking a little bit, we mentioned how things are going, during the pandemic right now and the uniqueness of it, and how a lot of our, just along with all of our athletic teams as well, everything kind of stopped in March. You couldn't continue with your program just as everyone else couldn't do it. And now we had the fall semester, a lot of teams were practicing, and then we're getting ready for basically everybody to play in the spring. So what's it been like for you? I know when it comes to the other sports, a lot of the coaches said, it's different timing, and you're trying to figure out how to stretch out an entire off season into a few months instead of a few weeks, and getting ready for a season that's, non-traditional and out of the ordinary. So what's it been like for you to prepare the band and the dance team and the flag line to perform in the spring and fit with the schedule that we have right now and everything that goes along with that?
Yeah. Well, from September, actually early October up until about 2 weeks ago, we were able to work out how we can have in-person practices. And so what we did was, it wasn't ideal, but it was better than being on the computer. And so we divided the band into fourths. And so we had our color guard unit, dance and flag, in one part of the Mac arena, like by the locker rooms. And then we had the drum line out in the lobby of the Mac. And then we had, in our intervals, we had the brass come for the first hour and the woodwinds come the second hour. So, and that's how we started our practices. And it reduced, we were spaced out, we had masks, we had bell covers. We were really at a minimum and really spaced out as much as we could. And as time went on and we thought things were easing up, we brought in the woodwinds and brass together against, properly distanced. And things were going really well. We didn't have anything arise, nothing, no threats, nothing. So it was great. And then, then we had the uptick, and then we had to go virtual, department wide, and which is fine. As I said, again, those characteristics we look for in being flexible and adapting to new situations. And so we have, we go on the screen and we're practicing tonight, and we're learning new music. And the idea is, so this way, when we do, let's say we come in, January, February, or March, whenever we come in, whenever we start practicing again live, it doesn't sound like we took 4 months off. It sounds like that, oh, they've been practicing, they just need to tweak things a little bit. And I think that's a realistic goal for us. If they individually know the part, and all we have to do is just, make it sound like an ensemble. So that's where we were, and that's where we are now.
That was one thing I was wondering as well. I mean, we look at all other teams like basketball, you kind of just have to be around each other to practice. In football, you're huddled together to practice. And, for the most part, things went pretty well this fall anyway. But when it comes to the band, I was thinking, especially the woodwind and the brass sections, there's so much air that's involved in this. And it's obviously we're dealing with an airborne virus. So that's the most important thing to be wary of. So obviously, you can keep your distance, but I mean, how difficult was it to kind of make sure that everyone was able to participate properly, but also keep themselves safe and keep, everyone around them safe?
Yeah, the students did a great job at, monitoring themselves, so I didn't have to say much. I mean, the first practice was an adjustment. So, and then we went from there. And then they make these special masks that I had, that we purchased that, they have a slit right in here that it's like a flap, and the students put their mouthpiece in. And so this way they're playing, they're wearing a mask, but the mouthpiece goes under the flap, and they're able to play. So, between that and the filtered bell covers, we were in great shape. We took our precautions. The only thing that would have been better if we were outside, which we, obviously we're not able to do. So, but other than that, we took all the precautions we needed to take, and I felt safe, and so, and as the person in charge, if I feel safe, we're in good hands.
I was going to say, you said it went well, so I would definitely take your word for it there. And I didn't even realize they made such products like that to be able to play instruments while also kind of keeping covered. I have to imagine, and again, not musically inclined, but there's so much, it's such a challenge breathing while playing instruments, as far as I know. So having to wear a mask while playing an instrument, I have to imagine that must have been difficult and something that they had to really get used to, right?
Yes, there was adjustments that had to be made, because I tried it myself, and that was difficult because you're used to just taking your instrument down from your face, but if you did, you're ripping the mask off your face. There was a process, slide it to the side and come down. So it was an adjustment for some. It was definitely interesting.
So we're nearing the end of our time here, but one thing, as I just thumbed through your resume a little bit more, is I've noticed that you've done a lot of education in music technology, and just as someone who doesn't really know too much about that, I want to know, what does that entail, and what kind of technology do you use in your career now?
Well, primarily right now, in terms of technology, and it's not is I use music software, music notation software. And so when I do the arrangements of the songs that we play, that's kind of like the major one I use. and that allows me to, I hear a song on the radio, and then I'm able to write it out on this software, and then, I can create practice parts for the band with that software, and then print it out and say, here you go. Some of that technology stuff, it's, I've become pretty, what's the word, like mainstream with a lot of the stuff, whereas back then, like, yeah, that tech stuff is, my thing back when I was in college was, how can I use technology to advance music instruction? So it was, how do you, and at the time it was, how do you do, video a lesson and analyze everything, and, how can you use athletic equipment to analyze, motions and while you're playing. So one example was, pitching coaches tend to go to South Carolina, or at least they used to. And there was a pitching coach in the Mets. His last name was Peterson. He would take his pitchers down to South Carolina to this institute where they would analyze all the muscle movement in their pitching arm. And they would say, okay, we're going to minimize this. We're going to try this, see how you're not doing that with these muscles. And I said, well, why can't you do that with, let's say, violin players and string players to prevent tendonitis and arthritis? So, so that was one idea, of how to enhance, instruction with the technology. But now I'm more mainstream now. So it's, less intricate and less fancy.
That's still really cool. I wouldn't have actually thought that was something that you do, but I guess, technology has reached that point, and it was already there a number of years ago that you could really improve performances with, video technology and things like that. So Doc, I want to thank you for joining me today on Monroe MustHangs. I think I learned a lot today. I think it's a valuable experience for a lot of our audience. It doesn't know too much about the marching band, and how it is such a big part of our program. And I think it's important that people are aware of, who you are, what you bring to the table, and what the marching band is doing for our program. So again, I want to thank you for being on today with me.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
For everyone at home, again, stay safe. Make sure you're following us every week. We drop every Thursday morning, Monroe MustHangs, on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at Monroe MustHangs. We're on IGTV, on our Instagram at Monroe MustHangs. You can listen to us in podcast form on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. So make sure you're following, subscribing. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.